Hi, I'm Kirsty. I'm running for the Vice President of Student Activities for the SRC.
Thanks, Kirsty. So student engagement is something you mentioned in your manifesto. It's something that gets brought up every year by VPSA candidates. What are you going to bring to this role different?
I think, as it comes apparent in my manifesto, student engagement is something that is linked through all of them. Whether that be through the Interclub Forum that I'm proposing creating, whether that be through Freshers Week events, student engagement is probably at one of the all-time lows. Attendance to lectures is low, so it's a knock-on effect. So you've got students who don't have pride in their university, and I think something that needs to be reinstalled is that pride. I think engagement in student unions is a great way to do that. So I think, as much as you're right, a lot of people have mentioned it before, I think it's a lot of very practical way. If we make the SRC a face, give them a face to contact, make sure the council's a lot more transparent, I think it'll increase engagement.
Okay, brilliant. So you also mentioned in the manifesto that you want to improve links between university and the local community through volunteering. The SRC already hosts volunteering information on its website, as you know. What are you going to do to improve this?
So this is more of a two-way street I want to look at. It's more of a case of the university, when it discusses community, often only refers to staff and students. I want to expand that because we discuss world changers all the time, yet we barely look into our local community. Students interact with the local community because they live there, they utilise the services, the pubs, the shops, and that's something I want to capitalise on. I want to make it a little bit less formal, so it's a case of, if you look at examples that we have around the university already, so the alumni network, it's an online forum page where you can have alumni members and students involved. So I want to basically install a version of this which is community members and students involved. What this entails is benefit for both. So for students, you have the opportunity to find out about student discounts, about job opportunities, about different facilities that they maybe wouldn't be aware of. I also think for clubs and societies, you can add new connections into the local area. For example, the cheese shop in Byers Road's got a really good connection with the Cheese Society, funnily enough. They also offer a discount. And it's these sorts of things that I'd like to maybe start building on a bit more, build a relationship, make it a bit more positive. This is also a two-way street, as I mentioned, so for the community, I'd love for the shop owners to get something out of this, and I've been around to speak to a few of them, especially the charity shops, which are tied into our volunteering service already, you're correct. But this is more looking out further beyond that. So a few of the ones that are into, like some of the hairdressers, it turns out they advertise discounts, but nobody knows about this. They're also looking for apprenticeships, so they can also get increased footfall as well as looking for workers as well. Okay,
brilliant. But obviously the problem lies with the lack of engagement people have with SRC, so how would you plan to advertise these?
So I think, as I kind of mentioned last night at Hustings, it's that scenario where I think we start the year off on the right foot, being transparent and being open and engaging with freshers as they come in. This will grow throughout the year and throughout the long term, like sustained throughout university careers. You're right, engagement with the community might be a bit harder, but you've got the West End kind of the community panel that meet and discuss, and I think if we start engaging with them and we start discussing that dialogue, I think it'll become a lot easier to get engagement with the community.
Okay, brilliant. And so, following on from that, I suppose, what do you hope to achieve with the Interclub Forum?
Interclub Forum is something that is it's incredibly simple. I'm a bit surprised we don't have it. There was mixers this year, which is great, but they only happened once a semester. They were also very informal, and I want to formalise those links. Clubs and societies are obviously a massive part of the Vice President of Student Activities role. With the Interclub Forum, it would be very much a simple discussion that would have panel, which was the SRC council members, along with elected club representatives. What this would do would mean anyone would be welcome to come along, but they'd have a meeting once a month. It would allow them to start discussions about anything that's concerning them, even good, bad, anything that could be changed. I think it's time for the SRC to start listening to clubs and societies more. Nobody understands how to run a club society more than they do. And I think the SRC isn't very good at being proactive and engaging with them before an issue occurs.
Okay, and so it would function as a way that clubs could take their issues directly to the SRC and to kind of...
It's basically speed up the process if they've got any issues. It's that scenario where if you're putting it all in one person and like one discussion, it means that the chances of getting a thorough reply and a follow through with that is quite difficult. This gives a bit more continuity. It also increases engagement as it gets into the wider student population. It's also a case of clubs and societies kind of work together. This isn't just a case of building relationships between clubs and societies and the SRC, it's between building relationships between each club and societies.
Perfect. So obviously something that got brought up at the Hustings last night was the bus programme.
Yes.
You proposed was a subject of significant controversy a few years ago. Yes. How are you going to ensure that this time around is going to be properly funded and it's going to run smoothly?
So what I want to make clear is the fact I'm not asking for an investment here. SRC has the buses. yes, you're right, with drivers is probably a thing we'd have to look at funding, but as I also mentioned last night, funding actually has increased at the SRC recently. I also think with a bit of restructuring, because some of the clubs and society money could maybe be refunded, but I also think we can look at other avenues that are out with the SRC budget. The housing, they can get involved. I also think that because we've started dialogue with senior management, we can start looking at the university, and we can argue this with student voice. I think the student voice will be vital in this, that safety has to become the #1 concern. The university doesn't have a right, but the university has to look after their students. It has to pledge its safety for the students. We're basically going to be offering 24/7 library service, and it's that scenario where we can't allow students to be walking home through Mary Hill at night. That's not fair, and it's definitely not safe. So these students at Wolfson Halls, for example, yes, they do get bus passes, but their buses either don't run late enough at night, they either don't run far enough, because I think the one that they recommend actually stops them at the big Tesco's on Mary Hill. So this isn't practical for them. What I would also propose is I'd start with the likes of Wolfson Halls, or the ones past Kelvin Way through Charing Cross through Kelvin Hall, because these are the ones that I think need it most. They're a long walk away, they walk through dangerous places. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to start with Morano and Queen Margaret, but at the moment the priority needs to be on the safety of the students.
And so obviously the safety of the students is quite a significant priority then.
Oh, yeah.
Is this something that, were it to come to it, you would be willing to make cuts in other areas of the SRC's budget to facilitate?
That's not something I think as Vice President I would probably have a lot of say in. I think that lies with the President. This is something that I would very much discuss with them when that was to occur. But I would do my utmost to ensure that no other areas would suffer for this.
And so also you're going to be sitting, if elected, on the Student Experience Committee, one of the highest level committees at the university. How do you plan to use your voice here to represent students?
Is it in case of would I be concerned about speaking up about events? Would it be a case of...
Just how you're going to use that platform to kind of push your agenda?
I think it's a fantastic platform, and I think it's a great privilege that the Vice President gets to sit on that. You're in direct contact with a variety of very useful senior management members. With people, it doesn't intimidate me in that scenario. I have no problem speaking my mind in front of these sorts of people. I think it's very important to build a very good relationship with them, and I think it would help if we wanted to achieve things like funding for the buses. I also think it'd be very good just to learn from them. I stand by the fact that student experience is very important to me. It's something that I've personally benefited from here at Glasgow. So therefore, it's something that I'd be very passionate about, and like I say, a privilege to sit part of.
Perfect. And how are you going to make Freshers Week accessible to non-traditional groups of students? Outside of, you mentioned alcohol-free events and manifesto, but kind of outside of that, I suppose, reaching out to older students, parents, student parents, student carers, these types of groups. So
for non-traditional students, for example, mature students, the idea with non-alcoholic events was to be accessible for all, so it wasn't just for non-alcoholic drinkers. They're also to be set, well, in my mind, there's a few of them will be held earlier on in the evening. So that then means that home students who have responsibilities, such as student parents, can get home. They get home in transport, they get home at a reasonable hour. I'm not asking them to leave in the middle of the night, that sort of thing. For terms of students who maybe need a bit more help and assistance, I stand by the fact I'm a massive fan of meet and greet teams at Freshers Week. I think they do a fantastic job. I think also the idea of opening up an hour earlier for the Freshers Fair for designated people who maybe need extra assistance might allow for increased engagement with those non-traditional groups. Mature students is one I would have to really start discussing with the current mature student representative. Unfortunately, that position isn't going to be filled at this elections, so hopefully in autumn we'll get a really good candidate to have discussion with. Obviously you've got Mature Students Association on campus. I think for them the Gilchrist is a massive tool which I think can be utilised. Now it's been all done up, I think it's fantastic. That's also the same with postgrads. What we can do now is work closely with Marquis at the SRC, who helps organise Postgrad Week, which coincides with Freshers Week, for those who maybe don't know, to help engage further with these types of audiences.
Perfect. And lastly, what makes you the best person for this role?
I'm the best person for this role because student experience is very important to me. I personally, as I mentioned earlier, have benefited from this. I firmly believe that your student experience and opportunities outside the classroom are just as important as the degree you walk away with. I've got the experience in the role, and I really want it.